It's UFC 110 time down under. Getting this one to you really late. But there's an advantage to that because there's a fight here that got changed like yesterday, and yeah, I get to actually make a pick on it instead of the pick that was supposed to happen. So go figure. Anyways, here we go. We're gonna do the main card, and then we're gonna go, and you're gonna catch my predictions for the undercard in the that way sidebar. Anyways, starting at the bottom, we got Krokop versus Pokrajec. This is the fight that got really changed. I was picking against Krokop for Ben Rothwell. If that fight happens again, you'll get to hear my actual breakdown. Not gonna give it to you here. Don't have the time. Pokrajec is a decent BJJ guy. He's got a good chin. He can take some punishment. He has laughable stand-up. Would probably be the word if you watch the fight between him and Christian Wellish, his last UFC fight where he lost to Wellish on the feet. You'll get a feeling for this fight. Krokop should, even the uninspired lackadaisical Krokop that we've seen fight Junior Dos Santos and to a lesser extent Mustafa Al-Turk, will still probably beat Anthony Pokrajec to a bloody pulp, first or second round stoppage. That's how it goes. I mean, I know why Pokrajec got this fight. I applaud him for coming up on really short notice, but if he wins, it would quite possibly be the biggest upset on the main card. After that, we got Keith Jardine and Ryan Bader. I can see how both guys would win this fight, and I've gone back and forth on it a couple times. Jardine's got that kind of unorthodox style, weird. Sometimes it hurts him, sometimes it doesn't. We're at the point where, although I don't know if he's particularly, say, the better boxer of the two, he's the better stand-up guy of the two, because he makes better utilization of the kicks. If Bader can't handle the leg kicks, I could see Jardine just circling away, keeping away, kind of a sprawl brawl, pick apart tactic. But at the same time, I see Bader with his power, with his excellent wrestling pedigree. Jardine's got a good ground game, but I really don't know if it's the type of ground game that is going to submit Bader. Bader control Red Schaefer on the ground. I can't imagine Jardine really doing anything to that. I foresee Jardine probably getting taken down and probably getting decisioned. Bader is not the greatest finisher in the world, though he does have knockout power. Jardine's chin is made of something other than stone. So a stoppage would not be out of the question, but I'm going Bader by UD. George Saharopoulos or Joe Stevenson, a fight that I'm not a huge fan of. Saharopoulos on this card, I like that. I mean, he's an Aussie. He's pretty much, I don't want to offend anyone, but I think the best Aussie fighter right now. Maybe it's possible. Maybe I'm completely missing someone, and there's someone out there that beats him, but I can't think of anyone. He's a good 155er, but this is a huge step up in competition for a guy who just fought Jason Dent, and that I think is a bad idea. Let me see. His 4 wins are over, I believe, like Dent, Roman Michichian, Billy Miles, and George Roop, and he gets a fight with Joe Stevenson. I think that's just going to be a rude wake-up call, fighting someone who has the skill level jump of Stevenson over those 4 guys I just mentioned. No disrespect to any of those 4 guys, except for perhaps Billy Miles. They're quality fighters. They're good wins. They're the kind of wins you want to see in a guy who's building his way up, who has a lot of talent, a lot of upside. But Joe Stevenson, by all means, should win this fight. I think he has the better stand-up, although Saharopoulos has a considerable reach advantage. I think he's the better wrestling. I think he has the better BJJ. I think he takes it down. I think he controls it for a decision. I haven't really seen Saharopoulos in terms of having, you know, submission liabilities or having a glass chin of any kind, really. So I'm going to go with UD, but it's going to be not the closest of UDs. Let's put it that way. Michael Bisping versus Wanderlei Silva. Go Wanderlei. It's well documented. I really don't like Bisping. Why that is a number of things. I think it's part of it is his fans, a little bit of the BJ Penn-like syndrome where, I mean, I don't necessarily like the person, but I think his fans make it worse. So I think Bisping's talent gets overhyped a lot. He's a cocky guy. He's not a cocky guy in the way that he gets in the way of his fight, so that doesn't even really bug me. Other than sometimes he says some things that just don't really make a lot of sense. We saw some of his weaknesses in the fight with Dan Henderson. We saw some of his weaknesses in the fight with Dennis Kang. I think if he's smart, he'll probably try to employ one of two strategies. Either the strategy you apply with Chris Lieben, which could work, or he'll try to take Vanderlei down and try to exercise. Really what I think is actually a very overlooked part of the game is that Bisping is actually a very good grappler. If I had to say who the better fighter these days, I'd probably go with Bisping, because Vanderlei at this point, his talents are kind of waning. He's becoming a bit one-dimensional in terms of what he can do. He doesn't have quite the same explosive, in-your-face aggression that he used to when Vanderlei was, you know, the king. But I'm going to pick Vanderlei because I'm convinced that Bisping's chin is really not that great. It's not a fiberglass chin or anything like that, but I've seen him get dropped by Kang. I've seen him get hurt a little bit by Lieben, although Lieben couldn't capitalize. Kang also didn't capitalize, but he did, you know, at least drop him and then did what Dennis Kang does. Henderson sent him to sleep. It's every time he's gone in there with someone who hits hard, he doesn't do well in the exchanges, and he's not like, you know, we're not talking like Vanderlei's here, like Bisping's like up here somewhere to the point where it doesn't matter. He'll just not get hit. We're talking a very close game. I tend to go with the guy who I think can take the punishment from the other guy. Of course, this is really a weigh-in thing. I didn't get to see the weigh-ins, which I really should have. If they even happened, I really don't know, because it's in Australia. And if Vanderlei has an issue with the weight cut, there's going to be problems. Because this is his first time going down to 185. He didn't look so good at 195, but at the same time he kept the cardio reasonably well to the point where I think he can beat Bisping by TKO. But we'll see. This is really one of those, it's a very iffy fight. Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira versus Cain Velasquez. I'm going to pick Nog, not so much because I don't believe in Velasquez. I'm one of these people that was talking about Cain Velasquez before he got into the UFC, about his skill. Those of you who played in the IFL sim will remember that. I was talking about how much he was a very prized fighter. At the same time, this is a stand-up in competition to something we haven't seen. We haven't seen him fight a grappler anywhere near the pedigree of Nog. The best grappler he's probably fought is honestly Ben Rothwell, which is, I mean, that just kind of shows it. If Cain were to win this fight and even do it convincingly, I don't know, I'd be shocked. Because we don't know. This is not really, like I said, this is not really a fight that I'm picking per se against Cain Velasquez so much as I'm picking against that step up in, I'm picking against how I think he can handle the step up in grappling. Nog, I think, has a slightly better boxing, although Velasquez, I think, has more KO power and more speed, and thus on the feet he maybe can do some things. But historically, Nog's a very hard man to stop. A fight between a wrestler and Nog, you got to think at some point this is going to end up on the ground, and at that point Nog will probably lock on something. We'll see. This is a very iffy fight. It's a lot like the Soteropoulos fight in that you're taking a huge step from what you have previously fought and what we have gotten to see, and it's hard to predict that kind of fight. But I'm going with the gut. And my general dislike for really picking against Nog. We got a little time left, so let's see. Undercard. Is there anything I particularly want to break down on this undercard? Competitive fights. Bonner versus Szynski. I'm going with Szynski because of his wrestling advantage and the fact that Bonner has looked kind of garbage. And as a result, you know, he has a lot of tools. He's a very good technical striker. He didn't have really a lot of knockout power, but he's got a really good ground game, actually. His wrestling's actually pretty solid. But I foresee Szynski just being able to do it. Szynski's a guy who impresses me in his mentality, and I don't really know where excuse me, Bonner is at this point in his career. Brian Foster, Chris Lytle. Chris Lytle probably with a I'm going to go with submission. People underestimate Chris Lytle's ground game. Foster should have an edge in wrestling, but Lytle's got the edge elsewhere. Foster had some trouble with Rick Story. He got submitted by him, I believe, or was it the other way around? I always forget. Just a quick moment. Yeah, he lost to Rick Story by choke. He looked very impressive against Brock Larson, but Brock Larson appears to be just on the crap hill. So I have to go Chris Lytle. CB Dalloway versus Goran Reljic. Goran Reljic to win here. CB's got good wrestling, good submission game, good boxing. He's got good submission to offensive game. His defensive game is not as good. Goran's got a very nice KO power. He's a hard bastard to take down. He's got very good stand-up. We've seen that CB is not really at his best at this point, I think, in some ways, with the fight with Tom Lawler, which he looked pretty ugly in. And, you know, honestly, he's not looked all that impressive in any UFC fight he's had. I don't really think he can compete at this level. And who knows? We haven't seen Goran at this weight before. He's been injured for a really long time, so it could end up being ugly. But at the same time, I gotta go Goran Reljic. So I almost did the whole card, but that'll be all. Later.